because I could care less about you telling me, oh, he haven't fought this guy. He need to fight somebody. Well, name me a fighter willing to fight him. Name me a fighter willing to hop in the ring with him. Then we could go from there. But when your favorite fighters is ducking him, you guys don't got no say-so. Because he the A-class boogeyman in the sport of boxing. Hate it or love it, you must respect that because he one of the few old school throwback fighters that's willing to fight anybody and everybody. Devin Haney, he responded to Teo. Devin Haney came out and said, Teofimo, fight me or shut the fuck up. I made double fighting Gamboa than you made versus Loma. You can't be the A side making that. He also said, if I went up and vacated, I guarantee he will try and go get my belt. So knock it off. If I'm so easy or I haven't proven myself, just fight me and get easy payday. #duck. I'm extremely shocked that Devin Haney made more money fighting at Gamboa than Teofimo did against Lomachenko. That is so shocking to hear. So you got Teofimo bragging about his A-side status while Devin Haney is making banks fighting guys like Gamboa while Teo fighting guys like Lomachenko. That's a further proof. Devin Haney came on my show and told me, listen, me versus any of these guys from Javante to Teofimo to Ryan Garcia, I will be their biggest fight to this date. So what are they talking about? They just doesn't want to fight the boogeyman. What's your take on what Devin Haney had to say?
I deeply believe that Devin Haney is on a mission, but at the same time, he wants to clown and he wants to trash these guys' legacy. He wants to be remembered as the guy who brought lineage back to the sport. Him and Shakur and maybe a handful of other fighters are trying to still save this sport, the sport we all love and know. Devin Haney, isn't he like one of the richest young athlete in boxing right now?
Yeah, he's the youngest promoter and the youngest, richest champion in the world. He making around $2 million against Gamboa at 21 years old. So that's crazy. I mean, like you said, he bringing back the old tradition of the sport, the old school of the best versus the best. People want to complain about the best fights not happening, but Devin Haney does that. So hate him or love him, you must respect Devin Haney because he the A-class boogeyman for a reason. You cannot name me one fighter that's willing to fight him next. I'm not even hyping up Devin. The fighter's hyping up Devin because none of these fighters willing to fight or step in the ring with him. Like Devin Haney pointed out, if Devin Haney wasn't the WBC champion, let's say Composis was the WBC champion, wouldn't you say Teofimo will fight Composis for that WBC title? Wouldn't he want to be undisputed? Wouldn't he want to unify with Composis?
Of course.
But when it comes but when it's Devin, now there's obstacles on the way.
No.
He knows the danger. And that's why I'm so disappointed. A guy like Chris Maddox, he's showing his true colors. Because you see, Chris Maddox, he interviewed Teofimo, and the first thing he interviews Teofimo with, I'm with the undisputed champion, right? And it's like, what? How are you a DAZN employee and you don't even stand up for your own fighter just because Teofimo is a guy on the hope list and Devin Haney is on the coincidental list? And Chris Maddox then later on in the interview, he told Teo, what about the other champion in your division, Devin Haney? I'm like, hold on. You just said Teofimo is undisputed, but now you're saying there's another champion? Then you should acknowledge Teofimo of his position as where he should be recognized as unified, simple and plain, nothing more, nothing less. So that just show you what kind of double standards that exist in the sport of boxing. So they keep falsely promoting these guys as undisputed when the record books, when the history book says otherwise. They want to call Devin Haney an email champion, but it's these other champions like Lomachenko and Teofimo that requested a title through email. So who is really the email champion? But nevertheless, obviously Devin Haney put it simple and plain. He told Teofimo, let's stop with all this talking. They will say anything and everything, but let's fight. If you want it, you could get it. Let's make it happen. Or shut the fuck up. That's what Devin said. So what's your take on them comments?
Hey, shit, Devin gonna tell it how it is, and that's just big facts. That's straight facts. You know what I mean? That's like, bro, that's just like, you know, a guy, talking mad shit about another guy's girl, right? And expecting the boyfriend not to do nothing about it. You know what I'm saying? Like it's certain things in life, there's principles, you know what I mean? Don't sit here and talk noise about a sport that a lot of guys are serious about and take very seriously, like Devin Haney, who wants to bring lineage back to the sport as a joke. You had how much time to make this fight with Devin Haney happen? We ain't got nobody. We ain't friends with nobody yet. Neither has you, Tio. Yet you're talking mad shit on the internet for clout. Because that's what I think it is. Yet Tio was the one telling Devin Haney he was the one looking for clout. But Devin Haney wants to make the fight happen. Right. He wants to be undisputed.
Right. That's a great point. You see Ryan Garcia, he calling out Gervonta next. He said he want to fight Gervonta. So we know Ryan and Gervonta's out of the picture because they're going to fight each other. So that only leaves Devin Haney next for Teofimo. So why would you fight a guy like Josh Taylor or anybody other than Devin Haney if it ain't Gervonta? If it ain't a bigger money fight than Devin, then why not fight Devin for undisputed to fulfill your dream? Because he's truly not undisputed, because the record books says he's not undisputed. And just to prove that the fight will be huge, I personally didn't know that Devin Haney made more money than Teofimo fighting Gamboa. I mean, think about it. Devin Haney made more money fighting a Gamboa than Teofimo made fighting a Lomachenko. How shocking is that news? How shocking is that news?
That's crazy. That's insane. That don't even make sense to me. Like, what kind of that just goes to show, the caliber of a fighter that Devin Haney is. Because, I mean, this kid can do, me personally, everybody's trying to do the shoulder roll. And that's one thing I wanted to point out. Everybody wants to do the shoulder roll, including Teofimo, because he was doing it a hell of a lot against Lomachenko. And he couldn't quite get it down because he was getting tagged every time he pulled it off. But when Devin Haney literally does the shoulder roll, it's beautiful, it's crispy, it's sharp, and it's timed beautifully.
That speaks of his skill, but also his popularity, because a lot of people want to take credit away from Devin. Man, he's the richest, youngest champion in the world. He also one of the most popular in the world, because I remember the days on Dante's Boxing Nation, Devin Haney will do pads with the shoulder roll, the way Floyd Mayweather used to do, and he will do 1 million views just doing pads with Floyd Mayweather Sr. That's what you really call popularity at 16 years old, right? I mean, we're talking about a guy at 16 years old who had the fearsome status in Las Vegas. He was going from gym to gym, beating up on everybody. That translated to the pros because now everybody treating him like the boogeyman. And it also translated to money because he's receiving the biggest checks for a young champion. So the money is not the excuse. The belts is not the excuse, because this fight is for undisputed. It's for all 4 belts, and there's a lot of money on the line. So there is no excuse to be made. But they will always find an excuse to avoid a Devin Haney, because remember, Bob Arum came on and spoke on the situation. Now he changed his tone. He probably see that it's not best for his interests, because he knows Devin is a real threat. Now, mind you, though, Bob Arum was asked, you made a comment in the past that black fighters don't sell. Bob Arum was like, really? He said, that's absolutely ridiculous. He said, black fighters always sell the most in the sport of boxing. This goes back to the Muhammad Ali days, who put boxing on the map. From Sugar Ray Robertson to Muhammad Ali to Sugar Ray Leonard to Floyd Mayweather to Mike Tyson to Roy Jones. It don't matter. Just name any fighter that changed the landscape of the sport. They were most likely black, especially the most popular, like Mike Tyson, Muhammad Ali, Sugar Ray Leonard, and Floyd Mayweather. And all these 4 happen to be what? Black. So this is Bob Arum speaking.
Yep.
And you can see the same thing in the new generation. You see Devin Haney, even though he fighting a Gamboa, he getting paid more money than Teofimo fighting a Lomachenko. When truth be told, Teofimo should be getting paid more money because he's taking on a bigger risk. And a guy who supposedly at the time was pound for pound top 2. So that's just the further proof that money is there. Devin Haney bring money to the table. He bring legacy to the table. He brings everything to the table. But what he also brings, he brings a whole lot of threat to the table, a whole lot of that. So because of that, that threat might outweigh the reward. So they look at him like, oh, hold on, you gotta at least balance out, or Devin Haney got to be on some Money Mayweather before I fight him. That's how they treating Devin Haney. That's why I said, hate him or love him, you got to respect him, because I could care less about you telling me, oh, he haven't fought this guy, he need to fight somebody. Well, name me a fighter willing to fight him. Name me a fighter willing to hop in the ring with him. Then we could go from there. But when your favorite fighters is ducking him, you guys don't got no say-so, because he the A-class boogeyman in the sport of boxing. Hate or love it, you must respect that, because he one of the few old school throwback fighters that's willing to fight anybody and everybody. Subscribe below if you're trying to get smart about it, man. If you're trying to get dumb about it, second, don't, and listen to these decafs, the dumb casual ass fans that don't know shit about boxing.
You don't know shit about boxing. You better not duck me, son.
Quit
you
ducking.
Better not duck me, son.
And grow some cojones. I'm tired of you decafs ducking, trolling in the chat, not having any cojones to call in. But nevertheless, shout out to the entrepreneur of new media that I'm a part of, Dante's Boxing Nation. That's my broski, my AKHi. So shout out to Dante. Click on the notification bell to get notified every time I post or go live on Split Decision or Blow by Blow or any of my shows. You know, I mix, master, engineer, produce every single one of them while knocking out the decafs with the truth, because the truth is undefeated. That's why AKHi is undefeated. The truth just happened to be the decaf's kryptonite. So that being said, appreciate everybody that's tuning in.
How did you choose Lomachenko? Because
I did not choose him. He requested, Canelo requested. So we sent out a vote and we analyzed his history.
Ooh, Canelo and Lomachenko requested?
Absolutely.
Ooh, you just made headlines.
Lomachenko.
You just made headlines.
Lomachenko, top rank, requested. And let me tell you, we analyzed the request. Top of the top.
Define the franchise belt. Can you define it?
The franchise is not a belt. It's not a championship. It's a designation given to elite, unique fighters who carry the industry of the sport of boxing. Canelo Alvarez and Lomachenko are two sensational fighters who carry the industry.
Ask Cameron Duncan, do Top Rank have like columns of fighters, and they say, we don't want this guy fighting the black fighter, we don't want this fighter fighting the Mexican fighter, and so on and so forth?
You're gonna get into the racial stuff, huh?
No, I'm not. I'm asking.
That's a theory there by the greatest matchmaker, probably, in my opinion, ever. And I'm not going to mention his name either, but you know what I'm talking about. And he used to have a thing up on his board, NBF, no black fighters. And when I was taught to bring up a fighter, you know, and again, it's just, he used to say to me, you can go anywhere in the country, and I'm going to leave it at this. I don't want to go into a long discussion because people are people in God's eyes, and we're all the same. He used to say to me, you can go anywhere into a city in America or anywhere in the world and ask a white guy, and he didn't say any other, he didn't say anything about Hispanic, anything. Ask a white guy to throw a jab, and half of them are going to turn backwards and throw it like a girl and everything. Ask any black man on a street corner in any city in the world, and they will snap out a jab in a heartbeat. And I used to laugh. He said, they're just more physically gifted. And he said, and so they have speed, and better to stay away from them. Nothing personal. So I said, okay. And I've lived by that. And, you know, I don't want to sound like some weird guy, but, you know, you're trying to be safe with your guys. And so, yeah, there is a thing about that, you know, but not in a bad way, in a very respectful way, you know, to be careful. So that's all.
The last man even said, they doing that to protect them.
Right.
Somebody beat them, but they don't get a belt.
There you go.
The franchise belt is protect them from the big black guys.
So you would favor Devin Haney to beat Vasily Lomachenko?